Hey everyone, this is Nick from Mecca Warehouse, and today we're back with weekly update number 75. So let's jump into it. We'll start off with week in review. This is where we talk about what's been going on this week, things that are coming up, stuff like that. And I guess let's start off with talking about last Friday. So last week with the restock, it actually turned out to be our biggest day on record ever, and by a pretty solid margin, like something like 10% bigger than our next biggest day. So if you made a purchase with us last Friday or last weekend, thank you so much for helping us, smash records and have another really good day on the books. I guess there were just a ton of really awesome stuff. It was pretty apparent very early on. Usually I don't really start seeing orders start flowing in any sort of serious way for the restocks until after I post on the Discord, for example. And I'll talk about the Discord a little bit more in a moment. But this time, as I was hitting the button to make the things available, the orders start flowing in, and it was quite obvious that people were hitting F5 and refreshing very quickly and frequently, trying to make sure they got certain items like the MG High New Verkot and MG Kshatriya High Grade Messer, I think, were the three probably fastest sellers. Some of those were gone, like by the time I had even said that they were available, which is kind of crazy and shows both how hard it's been to get certain kits, and it's been great to get some of them in. Hopefully our future orders will be much larger so we can keep them in stock for at least the day, maybe for a few weeks, hopefully. And bigger orders are definitely going to be coming. We're talked last week, I think, when I was talking about the restock, about how tight things were in here. Lots of stuff on the shelves, and so that's cool. I'm going to hopefully get ready for the next big shipment, whenever that is, in the next week or two. And then to extend all that, this is now the third top 5, top 6 day that we had in a month. So I'm recording this on Thursday morning. We've already posted our largest month ever with March by, again, a pretty large margin over the next biggest month. So that's exciting too. The growth is definitely coming, and when all these huge shipments that we're expecting, when we get confirmations for the next quarter, I'm expecting a lot more stuff to be coming, which is very exciting. I mentioned the Discord, and the reason I want to mention the Discord is I think for anybody that is following the business and wants to be able to get in on those limited restocks, things like that, being on the Discord is probably the best way to do that. We have an incoming channel where we post things when they ship from our supplier with an estimated restock day, which is very helpful if you're looking for that thing that maybe isn't in stock consistently or might sell out fast. You'll know when it's going to arrive, and you can kind of plan your shopping ahead of time. It's not always 100% accurate because things get delayed. Sometimes things show up early, but it's a good thing. And if you're not aware of the Discord, Discord's like a chat server basically. I think of it like old school, like IRC. But much more modernized for the modern world, I guess. And our Discord is available only to our customers. If you've ever made a purchase from us before, you should have received an email with an invite link. If for some reason you got that link or it's expired, you can always email support@meccawarehouse.com, ideally with that email address you might have used for an order, so we can look it up faster, and then we can get you a fresh invite link. So definitely worth taking a look at. And I guess the one other week in review item this week is Sunday. I believe it's April 3rd. We'll be at ValleyCon out in Chicopee, Massachusetts, just outside of Springfield. There's an IPMS show called ValleyCon. We'll be there. And I'll probably bring some builds. Santana will be with me, and we'll be shooting some video. So if you're there, definitely say hi. And I guess that's it for week in review. We're going to do something new this week. We're going to start trying to add a new segment, weekly tips. Maybe we'll come up with a better name for that. I'm going to try to talk about something that, some sort of tip, whether it be building, whether it be just industry related stuff, things that might be helpful. And this is kind of inspired by that question we got last week about organizing spare parts. For extra parts, I've got a storage organizer with a bunch of little drawers, and I'm using that to kind of separate things like hands and heads and etc., weapons, things like that. Pretty well received, and I think there's a lot of helpful things that we can do. So if I'm going to think of all the things that are on my mind that are useful for tips, but if you have a tip, if you have an idea, something that might be useful, shoot me an email, nick@mechawarehouse.com, with your suggestion. And if it's good, maybe I'll include it in a future weekly tips segment. So this week I'm going to talk about manuals. So one of the things, I posted this probably on my personal Instagram a couple of years ago, what I do with my manuals after I've built a kit, because there's all sorts of good stuff in there, right? There's some good art. Sometimes it's useful to be able to go back and see maybe the decal diagram or how you built something because you need to fix something or change something or whatever. I have a binder full of page protectors, and I use that to organize all of my manuals for kits I've built. Once I'm done with whatever I'm going to do with it, I stick it in there. I kind of sort them, I think, alphabetically and maybe by series. Lots of different ways you could do that, but I find it very helpful way to kind of keep them organized and be able to go back and see them later. Cool, so let's move on to pre-orders. We added a lot of cool pre-orders this week. I think the most exciting one is probably the Zoids Liger Zero. It's the marking plus version. I'm not 100% sure what that means. I think it's probably a different set of decals or details than the standard version, I guess. But that looks pretty cool. Those Zoids kits are nice. At least the one that I'm working on seems nice. Also some new Hexagear Governor Parapon Sentinel version 1.5, some Muv-Luv alternative Take Mikaduchi Type 00R, and the Muv-Luv Unlimited the day after Take Mikaduchi Type 00R Kono 16 Commander. There's also some Hexagear High Traeger, Hexagear Parts Remover. We also got in added pre-orders for the Megami device Bullet Knights Executioner, but I think they've all sold out already. If you're not aware, we usually post our pre-orders like Tuesday morning generally, sometimes on Wednesday if we're having a particularly crazy week. So usually a good idea to check somewhere around there, especially if there's popular pre-orders that might sell fast. And then we also added, I believe, three other items. Simple Stand from Good Smile, Creative Field Manhunter Deep Sea Ripper. It's like a shark in a robot suit. All it needs is a freaking laser beam on its head and be all set. And then the ERX Career Armed Edition version, I believe that's from Wave. It's an interesting design as well. These X Career, it seems to be a kind of unique IP, and they look like they're SD kind of proportions, but larger than an SD, especially based on the price. So they're kind of interesting looking designs. If you're into the SD chibi proportions, it might be something worth taking a look at. I think that's it for restocks. Pre-orders, let's move on to restocks. So this week's restocks are solid, but I'm not like last week's restocks, but I don't expect to have restocks like last week's restocks for a while. But some decent kits nonetheless. Seems to be like Zaku week. We've got 3 different Zaku kits in this week. The Origins Type C6R6, which I've heard is a very nice kit. We got the old school HGU C40. This is like one of the original high-grade Zakus, or at least maybe not original, but original in the HGU C line that a lot of the older Zakus are based on. That's probably the one kit I would not recommend to somebody. The one I would recommend, though, is the brand new release. This is HGUC 241. So this is the new version of the Zaku. It's got the rubberized skirts, and it's basically the same kit, I believe, as the Char Zaku version that's been out for like a year maybe. It's been out, and we've had it widely available, so a good chance to grab both if you want your Char version and your regular version. As far as I can tell, the molds are the same. I haven't opened them up or anything, but from the artwork on the box, it looks like they're basically exactly the same. Maybe decals are different or stickers, and the color obviously. But I've heard it's a solid kit that just came out. We also got 3 other high grades in. We got Zegox, both version of the high grade Zegok. Orion's happy about that, I think. And we also got the gun tank in. Last time we got these, they sold out super fast, so they'll hopefully last a little bit longer this time. I think we got a bit more this time around, but who knows? They could still go pretty fast. We also got lots of new Gundam decals. I think all of these are new releases, I believe. So Mobile Suit 00, the movie multi-use. We got the Hainu, so the new RG Hainu Gundam. We got the RG Zeong. Look like they're all decals for new popular kits for the most part. Mobile Suit Gundam movie multi-use number 2, so it's another 00 multi-use decal set. The high grade Nightingale, and finally the RG Force Impulse Gundams. That's a little bit older of a release compared to some of these newer ones. Not that old though. So we got those decals. We also got 2 master grades in. We got the master grade Justice Gundam. So chance to pick up those. We also got the Sazabi in this time. Usually we've had tons of Sazabis in for a long time now. It seems like, I think we might be, as I'm recording this, technically out because we haven't posted the restock, but we've got only a few this time. So we're really close to the end of the Sazabi supply, at least for a moment. I'm sure we've got some more on order, so we'll get some again in the future. But if you want one and you need to have one now, click that button fast. And then finally, we got the airbrush system for Gundam Marker. We actually got these in a little while ago. We were confirming our shipping policies for aerosols, because this technically has an aerosol can in it. It's canned air. And it's basically lets you use, I believe, like a port type marker, maybe Gundam marker, to airbrush with, essentially. And it uses the dripping of the marker onto the tip and then the air nozzle to kind of spray it off onto what you're spraying. I've never used one. Seems like an interesting concept. I think if you want the best effect possible, you're probably better off buying an actual airbrush and going the full way, but it might be an inexpensive way to kind of dabble with airbrushing kind of stuff using your markers, and might be worth playing with. We also have a few other items that will hopefully arrive today. They haven't come in yet, so they'll hopefully be restocked for this restock, including the Archangel hangar deck, flight deck, whatever it was called. And I think there's 1 or 2 other items in that shipment as well. So there might be some things not mentioned here that are on there. So if you're looking for stuff, might be worth taking a look. Okay, Q&A. So like usual, we're going to do Q&A. This is where I answer questions from you, the viewers. If you have a question you want answered, post it down in the comments below, and I'll do my best to try and answer it next week. We've got a handful this week. First one up from Plastic Germs. Questions with the not so recent news of Bandai's letter asking Japanese stores to not sell Bandai products overseas. Do you personally feel it could benefit you in any way? If taken seriously with getting more selection in your stores or more quantity of certain items. Also, do you hope Bandai takes some type of action if the request is not taken seriously? So this is a great question. So I think it benefits myself and probably other U.S. stores going through official channels in 2 ways. One, it will limit some of that gray market competition, and I'm always like positive on competition. I think competition is a good thing, but it's going to mean that those gray market sales might dry up, which means there's less shops selling stuff through those unofficial channels that aren't bound by Bluefin's policies. Bluefin has minimum advertised price policies, for example, where you're not allowed to sell below a certain discount and show that price on your website. You can do it with a discount code. There's certain text you have to put on the website. There's certain policies you have to adhere to. When you buy gray market, you often are not held to those same standards. And so it will level the playing field in that way. And in the longer term, I suspect once they understand where inventory is actually flowing, because they won't be seeing stuff that's going to the Japanese market end up in the US, a lot of those items might end up coming back through the normal supply chains and therefore become available for the shops that were maybe not buying the stuff intended just for the Japanese markets like we were. So I think it's a net positive for us. I think really it's going to be a net positive for the industry as a whole. It's just in the short term, there's going to be some pain for anybody that was not playing within the lines that Bluefin wants. And that, is what it is, I guess. Fun question. What is the mecha crew listening to when they are building? So for me, I guess I'm usually just listening to whatever that Pretzel Rock station is that I use when I stream, because 50% of the time I'm building or more is when I'm on the stream. And otherwise, I'm probably listening to some sort of melodic death metal or metalcore or something like that.
What kind of music do I listen to when building? I usually got a Spotify playlist. It's got like 2000s hip hop, a little bit of pop in there, some death metal, a little bit of country. I'm all over the place with my musical tastes. They even got some Vocaloids, a little bit of K-pop in there every now and then. Variety is the spice of life.
What music do I listen to when I'm building? Lately it's been classic anime themes soundtracks, like old school Yamato, Macross, and a little bit of Initial D.
The good stuff. All right, next question. Trainin' Saiyan 67 Gaming. Thanks for the recommendation. Snag the last of the battle log I need and a Dynamez to try out when I am done. Follow-up question, what's the difference between standard master grade and Verka? This is an excellent question and something I think a lot of people who aren't deep in the hobby probably don't know, and it might be super helpful for people. So Verka stands for version Katoki. Katoki is a Japanese mecha designer that works for Bandai, and he's designed a lot of the various mecha designs that show up in the shows and stuff. So a Verka is basically a master grade re-envisioned by Katoki. So if you look at the Sazabi Verka, it's basically the same as the old master grade Sazabi with some slight design tweaks to kind of satisfy how he would design it. Interestingly, though, if you look at certain designs, they're already technically like Verka in that he designed them anyway. If you look at all the master grade wing kits, for example, the master grade wing kits, the EW ones, I believe, are all Katoki designs. They're just not actually Verka in terms of him designing the extra features. Those extra features being that most Verkas are actually more complicated than the regular master grade equivalent. There's extra parts, there's extra detail, and generally that Verka is going to be more challenging to build than the regular master grade, maybe by a little bit, maybe by a lot. Next question is from Galactic Emperor. Question, will Mecha Warehouse join Gunpla Network at some point, such as Side 7 Exports, Canadian Gundam, and Gunpla Hermit has done, among others, in order to include a coupon through Gunpla Network? Short answer, no. We're doing our own thing. I've been playing with sponsoring and starting to sponsor builders again, potentially, but I want to sponsor builders, not sponsor just a media network. And without getting into more details, I can't really explain really the why, because it has to do with something that we want to do in the future. But yeah, short version, not likely. Next one, Ethan, I've got a question. When I add an item to my cart, is that item reserved until checkout? I believe the answer to this is no, and I believe that's just a standard Shopify thing, because the problem is if it gets reserved until checkout, it's possible to just hold inventory indefinitely by continuing to add stuff to your cart and create problems, and I think Shopify is biased towards not allowing that to happen. So no, you're not really safe by just putting it in your cart. So on those really busy days, you kind of need to get on with it if you can. And I think there's one more question from Derek Long. Can picky packers pick a picker when packing packs of pickles? Short answer, no. Long answer, also no. And I think that's it for questions this week. So if you have a question you want answered, post it down in the comments below. We'll try to answer it next week. And otherwise, see you all next time. Thanks for watching.